Welcome to the Real Boardloft. I'm Trev Forman. This is Matt Biolos, and in the middle we have the Lost Surfboards Mayhem Rad Ripper. Matt, let's take it.
This is the Rad Ripper, and we've been talking about a lot of our models tonight and going through them all. But this one is like the little Ripper. This is the one that it's not a contest shortboard, but it is a shortboard, and it's very heavily influenced from the glory days of my surfing. From my childhood, from the surf culture I grew up in, which is the wonderful 80s, the garish, in-your-face, big logos, bright colors, thick, down rails, flat rocker, beak nose, wide tail, the 80s. There's that new wave, fun, punk time when I got into surfing, when I was enamored with the whole surf culture, when surfwear blew up and surfing was fun, beach blondes and big deep V bikinis and riots on the beach in Huntington Beach and Tom Curran and Tom Carroll and Shane Horan and all these amazing things. And the boards were, they were just thrusters, tri-fin, box-tailed, fun boards, basically all somewhat of a bite off the great Simon Anderson, of the thruster designer. And so yeah, over the years, I periodically tried to put one of these boards in the line. We did the Sub Blaster, we did the Flashback, we did even the Proto 80s model. But we always just kind of slapped our normal logos on them and just didn't really finish the job. The boards worked great, but people didn't get what we were trying to do. So for this board, I dug up my old original Mayhem logo from 1987 when I first started shaping. We put period-specific rail logos, Lost Surfboards rail logos. A wonderful little 80s inspired Rad Ripper kind of Duran Duran lettering logo. And then they have our spiral, which is the first t-shirt design I ever did when we started Lost in our garage. The Rad Ripper it's just rad. It's fun. It's still a pointy nose shortboard with a squash tail. It's got a single concave. It's got a spiral V out the tail. And everybody just kind of loves this board. So guys like us can paddle it. It's a pointy nose shortboard. It's a performance looking board that we can catch waves on and ride, and we can surf even junky waves on it.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for it to be like 4 to 6 foot and great for us to ride a performance shortboard. And then lo and behold, not that it was designed for them, but all the young bucks, all the pros, all the rippers, they gravitated to it and they love it. And there's a certain nostalgia about the branding, but they love the way it looks and the way it rides. And so it starts with Mason Ho, who gets on one and puts together these beautiful videos riffing on it. And that's Mason. He rips on whatever I make, and he's my muse, and I love him. But then Luke Davis, who takes one, and he goes to Bali for a couple weeks and drops a beautiful, 4-minute banger video section, riding all these amazing waves entirely on a stock 5.4 Rad Ripper. Fast forward 4 or 5 months, and Koa Smith walks into Catalyst, sees one, loves the look, has no idea how it's going to work, says screw it, buys it. I think we gave him $100 off.
He's Koa Smith.
But I originally thought he bought it full price because no one knew. And he took it down to Skeleton Bay and got the wave of the year on it. But I actually saw him. He was in Bali at the time of my 50th birthday, and I saw him at Uluwatu's, and we were surfing one of the waves further up on the point. They call it Temples. And he's like, that thing's amazing. I'm getting so barreled on it. That's my favorite board. It's my board of the trip. And he's like, I'm going to Skeleton Bay next week. I'm like, great. Well, my birthday's tomorrow night. Come hang out. So we had a good time. And he goes, yeah, we're going next week to Skeleton. And then a few weeks later, that wave shows up in my inbox on my email. And he's like, look what I did on that little board. So it's cool. But it wasn't designed for that. It wasn't designed for draining left-hand barrels. It was designed for going out in Huntington in the afternoon in sloppy, mushy, bouncy, California, USA, or, any kind of junky Virginia Beach, anything, and having fun and bringing that 80s fun, that thing that really enamored people and got so many people around the world into surfing at that time as an easy to ride performance shortboard.
What was the fin setup that Koa was using? To take the board that far out of its range and ride it in that wild of a wave? Was it thruster or quad?
Koa was riding it as a quad.
As a quad?
Yeah.
And I mean, you just kept talking about fun, 80s. What happened right after that? It's like Kelly Slater, Elf Shoe, Potato Chip.
Yeah.
No more fun.
Buzzkill.
Fun's over.
Kelly killed the buzz.
Fun's over, right? So
Kelly
like
killed
it
the
was
buzz.
basically like this thing was the end of. Was it the end of the fun? Like when you're looking back on it?
It was the fun definitely got interrupted, you know,
Right.
and then 6-8 years later, people, you know, assorted people started bringing the fun back.
Right.
I'd like to think we had a part of that with our roundness fish. You know, we started making it in '95, but obviously there was a lot going on in the surfboard world where a lot of people were bringing a lot of new ideas to the table to make surfing fun again. And the elf shoe thing, it worked for an elite few, but a lot of us fell for it, and it kind of made things really difficult for a while.
Yeah, I mean, especially for average people, like
yeah.
non-pro people. But the, you know, the thing that when I surf that board, the thing I notice about it, obviously, is just like the fun factor in small waves, like just average everyday waves. Like with that, I mean, it's a squash tail, and you can say like, oh, well, that's a squash tail, and you know, so it's like a performance shortboard. That's a squash tail, but just like the width on the squash tail,
Yeah.
it kind of jacked you into the wave that much faster, and it was so much more to push on and push back and like
Yeah.
get you going in junk.
Yeah, stable, but still forgiving because it's got V. And it's got rocker. So the rocker stays kind of low and bends up, and the V's deepest here, and the V actually zeroes out on this board. It's not as common. Usually if you see a deep V in a tail, the V flies off the end of the tail, so it's V out the back. This one, the rocker continues to bend up, and the V mellows out, and they meet. It's actually flat. And I think because it's flat is one of the things that helps the good surfers like it, because if you can do finners, you can release a tail. Where a deep V tail, it kind of always grinds and carves and stays locked in. Where this thing goes flat and it gives a little freedom and a little whip, so you can do that modern like fins free, you know, backside snap or front side, you know, fin ditch kick up. So it's kind of cool.
We're always asking you, like on all these different boards, like what's the fin setup that you're using? So like on this board, what are you using on this board?
Not a twin plus stabilizer. No, this one I ride it as a thruster. You don't want to go long with this board. You got to stay kind of short. If you start to go long, it's going to feel really straight in the back half. It's going to kind of stiffen up and be just a directional kind of, you know, if you're a low-level surfer and you want to ride a pointy nose shortboard, go ahead, ride it 2 or 4 inches longer than you know. But for most of us, this is the kind of board you want to ride at your height or below.
And so what stock dimensions, not like your own custom dimensions. What would you ride stock in this board?
Yeah, 6'2".
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just over 6'1", but I'm overweight. You know, most guys 6'1" aren't 210 pounds. They might be 190 or something, and they could ride the stock. But I kind of ride this board at 6'0" to 6'1", above stock dimensions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the backstory. That is the story.
Yeah, there's lots of good content. I mean, there's so much video footage of guys ripping on this board.
Oh, it's crazy.
Good surfers.
Stuff
this is the kind of board that gets good surfers to buy a board out of a shop. Like a lot of the high-level, good surfers usually order custom boards or they backdoor it or find a way. Good surfers around the world are walking into our stores in Bali, in Australia, on the Gold Coast, California, here. Good surfers are buying this board out of shops. You know, they're not. It's not just like guys buying cryptos. You know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Rad Ripper from Lost Surfboards, and right from Matt Mayhem Biolos. If you have any questions about the Rad Ripper or you'd like to order one, give us a call at the shop, 252-987-6000, or look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.